Hey everyone, welcome back to the Grit Daily Like a Boss podcast. And you know that I love all of my guests, but I am fangirl crushing on today's guest, Espree Devora. She is the hostess of not one, but two, but three podcasts where I like to tune into the Women in Tech podcast, but she's also got Hello Customer and We Are LA Tech. Now, not only is she a crazy, wild, super successful podcaster, where Harper's Bazaar and Apple have called out her podcasts and recommended that we all listen to them, but she's just about as down to earth and sweet as you'd expect her to be when you listen to the podcast. So, with that, you've got the biggest fangirl here
Oh
welcoming
my
you to
gosh.
Like a Boss.
That makes me feel so special. Thank you so much. I don't even know what to do with that. That makes me feel really, really special.
Well, you are. I mean, you've spent years. I mean, you got into this, 2014 when you started
Mhm.
podcasting with the intention of raising women's voices and giving a new platform for them to be heard. I mean, how did you even get started into this so far ahead of the curve?
Yeah, it actually started from a huge pain point is I built the first action sports social network, and that transformed into a video network, and I wanted to take my skill in producing video to elevate people in the community. But unfortunately at the time my partner didn't finish editing all of the 12 episodes we shot, and I had discovered there's this thing podcasting that's audio only. At the time there was no like video podcast on YouTube. It was an audio thing. And so I taught myself how to podcast. I was like, I want to do something where I could do the whole thing myself and I never have to feel that kind of heartbreak again. And so I became a podcaster, and podcasting was not a thing. It was not cool. But I remember I was working a job. This was in, I think, 2013, possibly 2012, but I was working a job, and I remember telling my boss, I think podcasting is going to follow the trajectory of YouTube. You guys should have a podcast. And I was working for a firm that managed the money for all the top YouTubers. And so it was such a great catalog of talent that could have had a podcast. And they were like, no, no, no. I mean, podcasting was not on anyone's radar except mine, And so I'm like, I think there's a thing. So I just decided, okay, that video project that I was doing, I'm going to transform it into an audio only podcast so that I could champion people. And I did that. And then in 2014 is when all the news started picking up and all the other shows started picking up. And then podcasting started to become a thing. And now it's in 2021, it's a thing. Like,
Definitely.
but yeah, when I started exploring it, 2012, 2013, no one was paying attention to podcasting except the Uber nerds, by the way. I mean, let's not discredit the Uber nerds.
Well, that's where I was going to go with that when you said like it wasn't cool at the time. And that's part of the whole thing and the ethos of your show, that you bring on these gals that are super duper techie, not at all what you'd expect, but at the same time, they expose vulnerability. And it's just that perfect combination, right? Bringing, well, it's kind of the, I don't know, central meeting place online, right? To bring all of the
Mhm.
super cool and nerd people together. It's fantastic. I love it.
Oh, thank you. And one thing I'm really proud of is that a lot of people are always caught up in the celebrity, like how do I get the Ashton Kutchers of the world or the, Jessica Albas of the world on my show? I'm more excited about capturing just someone's story and, like you said, their vulnerability. I have flown to Bosnia and sought out the engineering school to find the women there and showcase their story. And they don't have followers. They don't, like they're awesome and they should be championed. And it's a privilege to be able to be that platform. And then I hope that from my show, other people will want to feature them as well and continue to elevate their stories.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. And that's part of the reason why I was so excited too to have you on our show today, because a lot of people, I'm sure, that are in my listenership already listen to your podcast. And it's an opportunity to say, oh, okay, get some feedback. What other guests have they heard on your show that maybe they'd like on our show?
Mhm.
So that's how it all begins. All right, let's turn the tables back a bit and say,
Yes.
okay, you've had this tremendous success, amazing trajectory because you picked up on the trend before it became trendy. What would you say is that next level of success that you're looking for, given how high you've already attained as far as success opportunities and levels? What's next? Where do you go from here?
So, I mean, a very vulnerable statement is I don't think I see myself the way the public sees me. Like, I don't see myself as this astronomical success. I see myself as a highly purposeful person, risking everything for what I believe in, which can feel very unsuccessful at times, because there's just so much risk and there's so much downside to that it's just not an easy path. But like, I'm so committed to my why and my purpose that when I'm, in a foreign country and I have, 15 back-to-back interviews and my eyes feel like they're falling out of my head, like, I just know that my purpose to champion others is so strong that it drives me to stay awake and keep doing the one more, find the energy from some universal source. And when I'm having those days of like, how am I going to keep doing this? Like, from a sustainability standpoint, again, it's back to the purposes. I'm really proud of living a life of purpose, but do I feel that I've struck, success, I think, in the terms that most people mean it? I think I've redefined success for myself, that to me now, success, at least I'd like it to mean, and this is what I aim for, is a place of inner ease, as consistent as possible to experience inner ease. Because like, what is success? Is it follower count? No. Is it money? No, that could be taken away. Follower count can be taken away. Like, all these things that we perceive as a society to be success, they can flow in and out real quickly. And so I just think the most successful thing that I could have in my life is to come from a place of inner ease as often as possible.
Oh, and I just love that. So many things that you said just now really resonated on the lines of risk, but know your why and follow your passion and purpose. I'm someone who's just mortgaged my house to fund my startup. So I get it. I'm committed, or maybe
Yo,
should
my
be
mouth
committed.
is dropped open.
Yeah.
Yo, what people don't understand about the journey that you are going through. Whoa. How are you
Yeah, it's
doing?
big. It's big. It's really big, but this is not
Your
about
why
me.
must be huge.
Well, this is not about me, so we're not going to go there, but
Okay.
I am
Okay.
fully and wholly committed to it, obviously. And like I
Obviously.
said, just maybe, on the edge of commitment there, but yeah, there you go. That's okay. We'll see what happens. Watch this space.
Oh, I got you. If you're ever feeling any kind of anything, just message me. I got you. I will build you back up. Yeah.
That's awesome because as you know, it takes a village, right? And there are
Yeah.
days you can't go to your team. You need to lean on some other gals, right? Who are a little bit
100%.
outside and never let them see you sweat, right?
That's
Or
a whole
cry.
conversation. Definitely don't want to hijack your interview, but we could get into a deep conversation about everything you just said. But I will sit back and let you drive the car. So, okay.
All right. Well, let's keep going then. So, what do you wish that someone had told you before you got started with all of this?
Hmm. Well, the advice that I'd give myself is my intuition is my oracle. So it doesn't matter like what age I am or how quote unquote inexperienced I am. Intuition is a pretty powerful thing. It could be stronger than a lack of experience oftentimes. And follow up, follow up, follow up. Just follow up. Be a master at follow up. Like, I have legit sat in the park with the icons of today when they weren't icons. And, life just gets busy. I've never been one to vet people. That's just very obvious. But I think a lot of people do vet people. So this isn't really guidance for me, but it's guidance just for humans. Don't vet people, just get to know humans. My mom says, and I love this, that every no is one step closer to a yes.
And that's exactly it, right? You just keep going. And I mean, I know, and just listening to you, I'm like, yeah, there's some work I could do with some follow up. So there's probably room for improvement there. But what do you think it is about you and your style that leads to such a great and deep connection with your guests and this position of leadership that you've attained in the podcasting world?
I make it a conscious choice to be a vulnerable leader, and it terrifies me. I have like I'll post or share something, and I will message some close friends, and I'm like, have I gone too far this time? My editor knows to protect me. Like, every editor I've had, part of their job is to protect me because I do push myself to be vulnerable, but then sometimes I'm concerned I've gone too far. Almost all times they're like, no, this is okay. People want to hear this, but it's terrifying for me. And it's terrifying that I feel like I might lose trust with potential brand partners, trust with potential customers, trust in general. Maybe not trust that people won't take me seriously because I'm not perfect all the time. And most people position themselves to be perfect all the time. So maybe trust is the wrong word, but that air of perfection, like, oh yeah, we feel secure in her because she's always stable. No, I'm not always stable. I'm a human being. None of us are stable, but most of us pretend to be. And I don't. I just kind of like put it all out there. So, and I like that. Even do it as a leader, as a team leader. I'm openly vulnerable and my team has shared that they really like that. But I've also made the conscious decision to keep a small team because that characteristic of my leadership is important to me. So I don't think necessarily I could be an openly vulnerable leader if I have a company of 100. So I intentionally make choices to architect the reality of my entrepreneurial life.
Wow. Now there's a lot loaded in there. And because you have been so open, this next question, well, might be challenging to
Yeah.
answer. So I'm going to ask you, whatever you're comfortable sharing, be it personal or professionally, what's the hardest thing that you've ever had to do?
Oh my gosh. I was
Yeah,
about
it's
to say
tough.
something really, really like dreary, like wake up every day. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna lean into that. That's such a like cheesy term that everybody's been using lately, lean in. But like, yeah, I wake up like freaked out pretty often, freaked out about just all the responsibility I have and how am I going to get through it all, and having the faith in myself that I have the competency and tenacity to make it through the day and manage my team and do all the things and host the event and have the customer service and handle the operations and take out the trash. I feel like every day is a tremendous obstacle. I say in my personal life, the hardest life experience that I continually do my best to overcome is I was really close with my father my entire upbringing. And then he made choices and he's no longer in my life. And that makes me very sad. And I struggle with it. So, and that influences a lot about my identity and who I am. And it's something hard that I have yet to completely overcome. And I don't even know if it's in my cards that I can ever truly, or any of us going through something like this can truly overcome it. But like, I wish I had my father in my life. And I wish the father that I had growing up still existed. But I think that person's probably gone and he's a new person now that I don't know. And I don't know, without getting into the mishmash of that, but that's the hardest personal experience. I've had a lot of really challenging personal experiences, but I'm not about to give you a laundry list, but that would, I say the personal and the professional is just like having the tenacity and the belief in self that I have what it takes to make it through every day of being an entrepreneur.
Do you think the burden that you carry relative to the relationship that you no longer have with your father brings you down or motivates you to move forward in a different way?
I think negative situations in my life are my superpowers. And the closer I understand that, the more that they will be an advantage. I think the difficulty with my father has given me the ability to understand resilience, to understand compassion, to understand like really essential traits that every entrepreneur needs to be a strong leader. So I wouldn't say that it motivates me. It causes me tremendous amount of pain, almost on a daily basis, but it's also given me superpowers for a dream that's extremely important to me. So without that life experience, you know, I'm grateful for the life experience for the superpowers that I've gained from it. And as you know, being an entrepreneur is extremely difficult. It's not what you see on TV. And you need to have really thick skin to champion your way through and a real strong why. And he did so much for me. He taught me about technology. He early on in my life, he showed me what it was to believe in myself. Earlier on, he was my champion. He was my cheerleader. There was a time where, I was a priority in his life, and I really value that time. It gave me a lot of essential things that I still utilize today.
Let's dig into that a little bit on that line of
Sure.
resilience, because you hear about that as a requirement to be an entrepreneur. You need that grit, resilience, tenacity, right? It's all kind of the same word and kind of the same thing. It means, like you said, thick skin. And how do people look past that as women, as entrepreneurs in general, knowing that any little thing that you say or put out there can be dissected 6 ways to
Yeah.
sideways and rip you apart in the process? What do you advice do you have for women who are maybe on the receiving end of some of that?
Yeah. So, okay, it's absolutely terrifying. I'm terrified by it. This world, this digital world we live in is real scary. I mean, there's no way around it. And I think it's important that we prioritize owning our own lives rather than letting technology own us. And understanding who truly your friends are, like who truly your support system is, not like your momentary support system because they like you because you have 1 million followers, but like your actual support system, and just making conscious choices of why you're sharing what you're sharing. And yeah, when that kind of like social media stuff happens, it's heartbreak. It's crazy. There is no strong way to deal with it. Actually, before I became the face of Clubhouse, I was really afraid of that level. I actually don't desire fame. I desire to be someone who's highly impactful, but not necessarily famous. I talked to one of my friends who's a celebrity, and I said, dude, like, how do you deal with it? He's this incredibly like good looking, like he's like a perfect person. You know what I mean? Like online, he's like, people tell me I'm ugly all the time. People criticize my nose. Like, this is like a human that you would see on like the cover of GQ magazine and be like, oh, they have no, you know what I mean? And he gets all these kinds of hate comments left and right. And he was just giving me advice. Like, you just have to like, he even said, have someone else look at your social if you need to, like, it's about making intentional choices to protect our spirit, to protect our brains, to protect ourselves. We cannot let technology dictate how we live. We need to dictate what's best, what creates a joyous life for us, and let technology just be tools in that journey rather than letting technology rob us of our lives,
Oh, amen to that. And it's about protecting our hearts. You look at some of these teenagers and all of the angst and anxiety that they're facing because of what's going on in social and
Mm-hmm.
how they're, cyberbullied and whatnot. It's just
Totally.
horrible.
I don't think there's a great answer for you. I think like it's a real icky situation that we're in. And I unfortunately think it's only going to get worse. And it's up to us to be really diligent about our well-being and really be a strong human community and rely on one another. And the only way that happens is by, I call it silent mentorship. It's about being a mentor in our own private lives. So like when you're walking down the street or you say hi to a cashier, that is an opportunity for you to just be a silent mentor by you smiling at someone, by you being nice, by you being friendly, by you being giving, by you being vulnerable. You are being a mentor to someone of what's possible for them. So being a mentor doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It could literally be how you show up to the world is a form of mentorship to everyone who crosses your path. So what are you going to do with that power of mentorship to positively impact everyone around you that can create an effect that other people will then impact others? And then maybe there might be the small possibility that we could stay connected as human beings.
Oh, that's amazing. Goosebumps listening to that. It's a pebble can create a series of ripples. Start small, right? A smile. How far does that go in today's world? It's amazing.
Totally.
Of course, if you can see the smile behind the mask, but that's a whole other story. So we won't even get there.
Or you could wave at someone. Hey,
that's right. Nod.
Yeah.
I do the nod.
Yeah.
I'm the nodder.
Nods work. Totally.
Yeah, the hello nod. It's the same. Okay, let's take a look at things in your past. If I gave you some pixie dust and said, you get to change one thing from your past, Espree, what's going to be different?
Okay, so I kind of have a part A and a part B to this. So I wouldn't change anything because I like who I am. Even the parts that I don't like, I like who I am and what I stand for. But if I could potentially change anything, maybe like right now or like related to my past or just like this overarching thing, the first thing that popped up for me when you asked the question was I would change my fear of love. Because my framework of love is that I'm very guarded because I'm afraid of the, colossal pain that I've experienced. So I'm afraid to receive love. I'm afraid of that entire world. So I take risks in business. I do not take risks in love.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really deep. and you can see the
Sorry.
emotional connection. No, no, I understand it. I recently lost my dog and wrote about it everywhere, Thrive Global, everything. And people thought I was a little bit out there going, she was just a dog. I'm like, there is no just. That was
Yeah.
my baby.
Yeah.
And this is my pain. Yeah, you've got to work through it on your own, right? It's nobody else's business, and they can dissect it or diagnose it or analyze it any way they want, but they're not the one experiencing it. You are.
Totally.
Okay, changing gears.
Sorry, I got
How?
heavy on you.
No, it's this is what
I'm
it's
just
all
like I
about
said,
too, right? We got
I
to
choose
share.
to be openly vulnerable. This is what that means. You
Yes.
just kind of like, here I am, world. Like, and then my intent in being this openly vulnerable is what I was sharing about with like silent mentorship is someone listening possibly also has experienced something similar that I've experienced. And to not feel alone, even if it's for 10 seconds, is an amazing feeling to just know I'm not the only one. I feel seen in this 10 seconds. If me taking the chance, the risk to like put myself out there so that someone in this world feels a little bit more connected to others, that's just what I believe in.
And that's the gift you've given us here today. So thank you for that. Can we return the favor? Is there any way that our audience can help you?
Oh my gosh, thank you for asking that. I have no idea. I just am so happy to be on your show. I'm so grateful that like I don't there's nothing that comes to mind. I mean, I don't know. It's funny. I ask my guests on my shows the similar question. And then when they say something like I'm saying right now, I'm like, no, you have to say something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now the tables are turned. And I'm like, I don't know what to ask for.
It's like, well, we'll send
Yeah.
folks to your Women in Tech podcast page. I mean, there's so many
Why
places we
don't you
can
just
send
say
people.
hello to me on Twitter or on Instagram or wherever you can say hello? Why don't you just like say hello? Maybe, you know what would be cool? Why don't you send me like a quote that has really inspired you in your life? Because who knows, maybe I'm having a weird day that day. And when I read your quote, I'll feel like uplifted. So why don't you just like tweet me or Instagram or whatever is right for you, or email. My email is espree@hey.com. That's ESPREE@HEY.com. Like just whatever you want, just a quote that has really moved you in your life. Like my mom's with me is, you know, every nose one step closer to a yes. Like maybe there's something that has really touched you in your journey.
Ooh, noted. We'll let people know that and put that in the podcast write up so that everyone who listens to it can take action. And so hopefully you get thousands and thousands of quotes headed your
That would
way.
be so cool.
Yeah, you never know. Come on, listeners. You heard her. Okay. Last question, which of course is the most important of the podcast. If your shoe style was your personality, are you a boots, stilettos, sneakers, flats, or flip-flops kind of gal?
Yo, sneakers, like Nikes, mid tops, like with a nice color sway. Oh, or my Adidas collection is off the hook. Or yeah, like yeah, Supras. Like I love I used to have a sneaker blog. It's got to be the sneakers.
Well, maybe it had changed. I mean, sneakers are the most common answer that we get. Boots are second. And then the most common answer that we get to the question if people would change anything, everyone says, no, nothing I would want to change from my past. I am who I am because of it.
Oh,
So there seems to
really?
be, oh yeah, there's some kindred spirits out there in our show, Espree, for sure.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up and say thank you very much for being on our show and for being the voice and giving so many other women a voice through the thousands of shows that you've done. So thank
Oh.
you again.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And remember, feel free to reach out at Espree Devora on all social. I would be happy to connect with you.
Excellent. Thanks, Espree. And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?